Shocking new data, CAGRISEMA versus Zepbound, our updated Zepbound news and CAGRISEMA news. Hi, beautiful friends. I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've lost over 106 pounds the last 2 years and 2 months. So 26 months of my life, completely game-changing, life-saving. And on today's episode, I'm really pumped to share with you a new study that just came out. I will link that down on my description link below, as is all of my resources in today's video. I've got a ton of free information for you on countessofshopping.com and also in my free encouragement group. So check that out down below. But let's dive in. So this first one is retatrutide. These are, you may be like, Elizabeth, what's CAGRISEMA? CAGRISEMA is another upcoming GLP-1 medication by the manufacturer Novo Nordisk, which is a Danish company. They also make WEGOVY and a little thing called Ozempic, which is a semaglutide. Those semaglutide are the same, just different FDA approvals. Slightly less data, so that's our semaglutide. And then this is supposed to be Zepbound and Mounjaro dinosaur. You know it's serious when I pull up my dinosaurs, but his head pops off. So slightly higher data with our tirzepatide, Zepbound, and Mounjaro. And then we have these beast drugs potentially coming out, dinosaurs, like retatrutide, which is by the manufacturer Eli Lilly, still in clinical trials. If people are saying they're selling retatrutide, the actual retatrutide from Eli Lilly is not out yet. So that's still in, and in between these, so if I had like a third dinosaur head in between retatrutide and Zepbound, and then we've got WEGOVY and semaglutide at the bottom, but in between those two, I didn't have a fourth dinosaur, was supposed to be CAGRISEMA, and then we do also have another one, orgagilpron. I'm mispronouncing that, but I've done other studies on those. For CAGRISEMA, it was supposed to outperform Zepbound and Mounjaro. There were expectations on that. And so from this recent study that just came out, those study did not hit those expectations. So Novo Nordisk, they had a really bad stock day. If you have shares in Novo Nordisk, wah, wah, wah. Why this matters for you or I is that I'm on the highest dose of Zepbound. So I am like a hawk. You're going to want to click like and subscribe if you're like a hawk like I am. I want to know more of the information of higher dose drugs. I'm on the highest of Zepbound, 15 milligrams. Nowhere else for me to go. It's the highest. And I have done behavioral modifications for sure, like lifting weights, and making those lifestyle changes, which I talk about a lot here on the channel too, about why lifestyle changes. This is me before lifting. This is me now. Like making these lifestyle changes, they matter so much. And I'm going to talk about that too a little bit with our data as well. But so going back over to what happened was CAGRISEMA helped cut obese patients and overweight patients with type 2 diabetes, cut their weight by 15.7% weight loss in 68 weeks. Now, this came in at lower expectations because we know Zepbound and Mounjaro, patients lost 22% weight loss. So we're going from 15.5% with CAGRISEMA to 22% weight loss over 72 weeks. So Zepbound, it's got 4 extra weeks on it as opposed to the 68 weeks for CAGRISEMA, but CAGRISEMA 15.7%, Zepbound 22% weight loss over 72 weeks. Now you may say, Elizabeth, Countess, what about WEGOVY or Ozempic or semaglutide? It's 15% over 68 weeks. So the good news is that our WEGOVY dinosaur, and then I didn't have a CAGRISEMA dinosaur yet. I should get a pink one. Pretend there's a pink dinosaur here. You can make it my little bumblebee. CAGRISEMA has on there, and CAGRISEMA, by the way, is a subcutaneous injection like WEGOVY is, but it has semaglutide in it and also included the CAGRISEMA. So it's got the 2 in it versus semaglutide. And so it's supposed to be more than WEGOVY, and it is. WEGOVY is 15% over 68 weeks, and CAGRISEMA is 15.7% over 68 weeks. But here's what, Zepbound and Mounjaro, the manufacturer Eli Lilly, was like, hold my beer. They're still showing higher results at 22%, and it may be even higher than that. Something to note about this trial as well, which I'm going to dive into, is that CAGRISEMA, 61.9% of people were on the highest dose. The highest dose of CAGRISEMA. I find that fascinating because some of these other studies where they're not getting to the higher dose and you're like, well, fiddlesticks. Like for the data I just put on Zepbound, it's Could be more because I don't think a lot of those people were on the highest dose. I have not checked myself on that information, but I want to put that out there too as a note. So investors and analysts were waiting out the readout of Novo Nordisk. It's called Redefined 2. There's several Redefined studies, but it's Redefined 2. It's late-stage trial to assess whether CAGRISEMA is more powerful than Novo's blockbuster medication, which is Ozempic for type 2 diabetes, and WEGOVY for obesity. My source is Reuters on this, by the way, and Reuters said Ozempic for diabetes. It's not for type 1 diabetes, to be clear, it's type 2 diabetes. The readout came after the company revealed results from a separate trial of CAGRISEMA back in December. I already had talked about this if you go back on my previous video and the playlist, that obese patients without type 2 diabetes, that they were doing in overweight and obese patients without type 2 diabetes. So no type 2 diabetes with this. And that disappointed the market, wiping out as much as 125 billion with a B off of its market value. Can you imagine losing $125 billion in one day? So shares were down 5% earlier this Monday. And as I'm filming this is March 11th, just to be factually accurate. It was the worst day since the data release in December. Shares in rival diabetes and obesity drug maker Eli Lilly were up more than 1% in pre-market trading. I bet they were. New data was released based on the trial of 1,200 people with type 2 diabetes and the BMI of above 27 after 68 weeks. Like Redefine 1, Redefine 2, the trials, were based on flexible protocol, allowing patients to modify their dosing throughout the trial. Novo Nordisk said in a statement, after 68 weeks, 61.9% of patients treated with CAGRISEMA were on the highest dose. And in those trials adhered to treatment with CAGRISEMA, patients overall achieved weight loss of 57.7% after 68 weeks compared to the 3.1% with a placebo. And CAGRISEMA is a weekly injection that combines the SEMAGLUTIDE, which is the active ingredient in WEGOVY and mimics the gut hormone GLP-1, and in a separate molecule called CAGRISEMA that mimics the pancreatic hormone amylin in a weekly injection. The two of those hormones in CAGRISEMA combined suppress hunger and help control patients' blood glucose. Now, if you are type 2 diabetic, I'm going to talk about that in this is very important of the blood sugar component for type 2 diabetes, which we're going to talk about. But one of the things I always like to talk about is things I can change and things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And you guys know I am on the pulse in terms of what I can control within my weight loss. I can't control when CAGRISEMA is coming out or when retatrutide, the Godzilla of the GLP-1 medications, is coming out. I can't control those things. What I can control, my diet, my exercise, and along those points. And some of the things for me that have led me now down to my 106-pound weight loss journey has been mitigating side effects, making sure I'm getting my workouts in. This was from my most recent photo shoot from 2 weeks ago. I am so proud of this. Coming from somebody who is morbidly obese, this is me before, to now, literally 2 weeks ago, like, that's life-changing, life-saving, and doing non-scale victories like being able to get on an airplane here in a couple of weeks and clip my seatbelt without needing a seatbelt extender, or ride a horse and I'm not fearful that I'm going to crush the horse. In fact, I didn't even go ride horses anymore. I stopped for decades because I didn't want to injure the animal. And now I get to go to horse camp, 3 of them, in fact. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But that for me has required using electrolytes. And 2+ years ago, I purchased LMNT electrolytes because someone who I trusted told me that they were the best. And I was like, okay. And I do find that they are the best because I've used them the last 26 months and over 100 injections with Zepbound, Mounjaro, and tirzepatide. And it's helped with my side effects. And it's also helped with my muscle recovery. So if you're getting into, like how I am, weight training, walking, even just I walk 2 to 6 miles per day, I love having LMNT electrolytes on a daily basis to help with that muscle recovery on it because it has magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Now, when I do the sticks, I typically do a third, a third, a third. I'll mix it in the big water glass carafe and then pour that out, a third of that glass carafe, over the course of the day. So I'm not mixing it in my 40-ounce tumbler. So I'm getting a ton of water in and also my electrolytes. It is salty, so you can make, because it has sodium, magnesium, and potassium, you can customize it to your taste buds. I'm also obsessed with sparkling water in general. So the sparkling electrolytes, If you see me in carb pickup line, when I do carb pickup line, I pretty much always have an LMNT electrolyte can in my car. Typically in the day, I'll have either one packet or one can, depending. It's one. I don't have, you could, but I don't. But it has no caffeine, no sugar added. In the cans, there's no maltodextrin in it. Like, I am obsessed with how much it's helped my weight loss journey. Now, LMNT's been very generous to the Countess of Shopping community and given us 8 free sticks with any purchase. Go to drinkelement.com/queen, QUEEN. It's also hyperlinked down in the description link below, but you can go directly to this website and it will have it. And right now there's some cowboys on that main page. If you scroll down there, you can see the whole deal of getting the 8 free sticks with them, and you can taste them for yourself. My favorite flavor is orange. Currently, I'm hyper fixated on it, but I also really like raspberry. The raspberry is really, really good. The Count likes the the lime one, citrus salt one, and then the Duke is obsessed with the watermelon one. In fact, it started to get hot here again in Virginia, and he's like, "Can I please have one in my lunch after recess?" Like, he gets leg cramps, and so it really helps with my 9-year-old's leg cramps too. So going back over to things I can change, things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference, with this study with CAGRISEMA, making those lifestyle modifications, like how I was sharing with lifting, like being able to lift weights now is amazing. I could not do that before and lift the quantities in which I'm lifting before GLP-1 medication. Changing my diet, changing the way that I eat protein, even meal prepping, even just eating out. Right now, as I'm filming this, it's almost 1 o'clock. I had some coffee this morning. I am full. Trust and believe I'm going to get my calories in for the day. I don't force feed myself, but getting my calories in for the day, but even just tracking that, monitoring it, knowing what I'm consuming, eating really high nutrient dense foods like vegetables and fruits. In fact, like, now I love finding out what fruits are in season. Right now, currently, carrot, oranges are in season. So excited. And somebody had recommended a certain kind of mango is in season. So I just bought those, and I really enjoy trying different fruits that I normally wouldn't be. Like, I've nerded out over these carrot oranges. I think everybody in my personal life is like, stop talking about the carrot oranges. But those are things I can change. In this CAGRISEMA study, I cannot change those results. It also talked in there too about, and this is why if you are type 2 diabetic, I want you to share this video if you've got somebody who has type 2 diabetes in their if they are type 2 diabetic or pre-type 2 diabetics, pre-diabetic. It talks in here for type 2 diabetes about the 2 hormones for the CAGRISEMA suppress hunger and help control patients' blood glucose. And so this is why it's so important of giving for other type 2 diabetics. That could be an option, and things that they're monitoring about how is that affecting your appetite with your blood sugars, right? We've seen for some people with Zepbound, Mounjaro, well, Mounjaro because that's for type 2 diabetics, and Ozempic is for type 2 diabetics, that blood sugars can, like, that's one of the, having another option here is very helpful for GLP-1 medications for type 2 diabetics. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about this study specifically. For me, the weight has been, of course, obviously monitoring my A1C and making sure my blood panels have been stellar, which is crazy. But I also want to share for my other type 2 diabetes brothers and sisters out there, like, this is exciting for that reason, more so for the type 2 diabetes component. The weight loss component on here, it's still better than Wegovy and Ozempic, which is amazing. Like, that's amazing to have another option that's going to help lower costs. It's going to help with shortages. Like, lowering the cost thing by having more more competitors in the marketplace is going to naturally, from an economic standpoint, I'm an economist daughter, so it's going to naturally make our prices across the board go down. That is good for all of us, people who are on Zepbound or Mounjaro, people on Wegovy. Like, having more GLP-1s come into the marketplace is good for all of us. And I'll say it louder for the people in the back. Some people are like, I don't care. Yeah, you probably do when your prices start going down. This is going to help with that by having more competition on the marketplace. So that's exciting. But also it's exciting for type 2 diabetics specifically. The weight component of 15.7% weight loss in 68 weeks versus Zepbound's 22% over 72 weeks. And CAGRISEMA folks were, a lot of them, 61.9%, so almost 62%, were on the highest dose. That speaks volumes to me. So I'm shifting more over to my type 2 diabetic friends, my brothers and sisters, and saying, this is amazing. This is great news. To my obese, if you have, strictly just for obesity brothers and sisters, you know, it's going to help lower your prices and it's going to give you more options. And also I just did a video all on, oh, it's over here, completely on hyper responders and hypo responders. There was a study that came out in January 2025. It was on a previous video, or it's going to be coming out soon. I'm not sure the sequence of when my videos are getting released. But people who are on semaglutide and liraglutide, another GLP-1, there's 17.8% were non-responders. Approximately 82% of people had moderate to hyper response to the semaglutide and liraglutide, but 17.8% of people didn't. Those non-responders, it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating because I've got thousands of people in my group, and I know the non-responders, we talk about this frequently of like, this gives other options too. And so helpful for the A1C component and blood sugars, but also helpful too if you're having a non-responder, maybe on, you know, with Zepbound, having this other component may be helpful for you, particularly if you are pre-diabetic. And again, I'm not, and obviously if you're a type 2 diabetic, I am not a healthcare provider. These videos I do on a daily basis are for encouragement and to punt you to talk to your own healthcare provider, because we've all got different medical conditions, and it's egregious if some YouTuber online comes online and starts telling you all this stuff. Like, you got to go to your own healthcare provider who has your own medical conditions, and they know specifically about you, because we're all so different. And so that's why I like doing these videos, the point that I'm trying to make. I like doing these videos to help prompt those conversations, because I am not a healthcare provider and I don't pretend to play one on the internet. It always cracks me up when influencers come on. I'm like, babes, you have no training for that, like none whatsoever. So when I see that, I certainly would never want to come across that way. I want to encourage you and say, hey, babes, this is what's working for me after 106-pound weight loss after 26 months. After being morbidly obese, these are what's working for me and what's not working for me. We both talk about the pros and the negatives here. But hopefully that this helps encourage you to know there is more coming in the pipeline. Now, I always have to bring her out because I feel like it's a she, because girls run the world. Girls, who runs the world? Girls. Retatrutide is still in clinical trials, who is the Godzilla of what I'm coining it, and other media people are, of GLP-1 medications. Does he still talk? I don't know. No, he's not talking anymore. Oh, dang. I think I used all of his batteries. He used to speak and go, rah! He's got glowy eyes, though. The point of which I'm trying to say is that will be exciting. When that comes out, there we go. Okay, enough. Okay, stop. Shh, 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 shh. Quiet yourself. That's me. My husband's like, that's you. When you're hangry on like day 7 of your injection and the appetite suppression, and you hit the half dose life on day 5 of Zepbound, and me on day 7, I'm like, okay, my appetite's back more so. Like, I get hangry. Retatrutide is what I'm really looking at. But I'm also trying not to get too excited on that too, because it's still in clinical trials. And like CAGRISEMA, it was really a lot of hype. And I think that that was from a shareholders and a stock perspective. Y'all know I love business. I love talking as an investor. And people ask me all the time, and I don't have specific stock in Novo Nordisk as of right now. Novo Nordisk or Eli Lilly, S&P, of course, but not specifically within them. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, oh, there you go. There's now you know my portfolio, majority at S&P. So I find from a shareholder perspective, I think that the company did a disservice hyping it, because it's underperforming. But it's underperforming, but also this is amazing in the same breath. If you're a shareholder, you're like, oh my God, $125 billion market share decrease because this drug is not performing for weight loss. We thought it was going to be more than 22, at that 22% over 72 weeks or more. And since it's not, it's at the 15.7, which is still amazing. It's still higher than WEGOVY and Ozempic. Like that's where it's like getting lost in translation of the media's like, oh, this is so bad. It's actually not so bad. It's still a great other option. It's just not as high, and still the king as of right now, Zepbound and Mounjaro. But we'll see for Retatrutide, who is the same manufacturer of Zepbound and Mounjaro. That Godzilla is Eli Lilly. They're still winning. So nothing that Novo Nordisk has, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys know I absolutely require myself to be factually accurate. But in clinical trials, we've got nothing beating Retatrutide right now in the GLP-1 space. Those next gen GLP-1s, it's Retatrutide. And that's like in the race, the horse race right now. it's Retatrutide that I've got my eyes on for me specifically, because I'm on the highest dose. Nowhere else for me to go. But we also do know, and I need to counter this because I've said it in other videos, but not specifically when I talk about retatrutide videos, that the testing people are talking about is on quote virgin cells, meaning they haven't had GLP-1s or they've been off of GLP-1s before going into these studies. And that's going to skew the data versus me being on this medication for 26 months. And there's lots of chatter right now about pausing GLP-1s and then taking a break if you're like me and just hitting a wall. Although I didn't hit a wall recently, I have to say this in this video too. I think I wasn't eating enough calories. From the information I took from my dietitian and then also from my own research, I tweaked that a little bit, which was not smart. And so I'm going to be doing a follow-up video on that too, by the way. If you're frustrated, re-looking, and I have on countessofshopping.com a calorie calculator. I deep dove into it last night of re-looking at those calculations versus how much I've been working out. No wonder she's hungry. No wonder I'm like, I get hungry. And I'm like, oh, why is there not appetite suppression? I think I just need some more calories. Still be in a calorie deficit, but need more. Anyways, I'll do a whole other video on that. I want to make sure for our question of the day, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Make sure you also go to drinkelement.com/queen, QUEEN. If you've not done it, to get your 8 free sticks. What are you waiting on with any purchase? So you can purchase the sparkling waters, sparkling electrolytes, excuse me, or the packets, whichever. Or you can go in the description link and use the hyperlink. Question of the day, and then we already did, and then our emoji of the day is going to be a clover. I think they have on their emojis clovers, don't they? I feel like we need a little green up in here, and it's March as I'm filming this, so we need a little green up in here in honor of it. And I do emojis of the day to help me to get to know you better because I truly do care. By seeing your name over and over and over, it's the pattern recognition of I get to know you. And I do these daily videos because I care about you. All thousands and thousands and thousands of, I really do. It's like I go to bed talking about you guys. I wake up talking about, like, I love our community so much. And I am so incredibly grateful and passionate seeing your successes. And also when you have hardships too, because that comes along with this as well. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, both of it. So join my free group if you haven't. Make sure you get on my email list. My encouragement email list comes out on Mondays and Thursdays. How you get on that, if you go to countessofshopping.com and click on any of the blog posts, or countessofshopping.com in general, there's now a bar that's been updated so you can sign up that way and get those 2 times a week encouragements. Sometimes I send them on Fridays if I get too busy on Thursdays. Forgive me. I love you guys. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. And I'll look for all of those clovers down below. Make sure you share this video too. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.